Chapter 2. The Essentials in Creating a Fiction Book. How to come up with a theme. Before you start writing, you need to think about your novel's focus or topic for your book. What's the purpose of your story? What is the expressed intent of your novel? Every novel has a theme. Mostly, the theme entails an insight about life that the characters in the story discover through the situations they encounter, like their personal journey or a relationship, for instance. Deciding the theme of your novel. After jotting down some ideas you need for your novel, you need to come up with a theme for your story. Themes are all around you. You see them on the nightly news. Themes are in your personal life. They're all around you. Your novel could revolve around the idea that motherhood can change a woman's entire perspective. Perhaps a novel about how natural disasters can bring out the best in people. Or maybe you know about a rebellious guy who doesn't care about the world and went through a lot of struggles, then finding true love that changed the way he looked at the world. As you think about themes, scribble them down and sort through them. You might be surprised with what you find. Themes often involve conceptual ideas. The following is a list based on Merrill Goddard's What Interests People and Why. Love. Admiration. Hate. Curiosity. Fear. Aspiration. Mistakes. Culture. Vanity or egoism. Bravery. Morality. Discovery. Immortality. Amusement. Superstition. Kinds of characters. If you're a fiction writer, you should start formulating and developing your characters. Making believable, interesting, and well-written characters can make all the difference in a novel. The character's story stirs up interest, builds anticipation, and hooks the readers to the plot. Here are some effective characters for your novel. Realistic characters. It is more than just physical traits that make the character. It is his or her traits. Traits can be developed through mannerisms, gestures, and presence. Furthermore, it's how your character talks, interacts with other characters in the novel, and how they make decisions that draws the readership to your characters. Natural characters. Your characters should develop naturally. For instance, you have to include the character's past or personal history in order for your readers to understand the nature of his or her character. Example: a supporting character in a novel is named Norma. Norma is the mother of the main character, Alice. In your novel, she is strict, calculating, mean, and prejudiced. At first, no one will understand, even your main character, why she became that way. While her father described her as bubbly, cheerful, and sweet when she was younger. Then, in the middle of the story, Alice marries a man, and it turned out that Norma doesn't approve of him. Why doesn't Norma approve of him while he had all the good qualities that fit for Alice? Until, as the novel progresses, you reveal the true nature of Norma, her past that made her the way she is now. Explored characters. Always let your mind drift as you observe other people. When you see someone that intrigues you, try to give this person an identity. Playing what if and I wonder while observing people is a great way to develop intriguing characters. How to develop a plot line. The plot is what motivates your characters in the novel. To make them more realistic to your readers, they must be placed in a situation where they can move, interact, react, learn, live, and develop. Here are the essential elements of a plot. 1. Introduction of the characters. 2. An event that affects the life of the lead character and sets the story into action. Most of the times, the triggering event causes conflict or an issue that the major character must resolve. 3. The character's process of solving the conflict. Could be in a series of events or scenarios that a lead character has to go through to unravel or rectify the conflict. 4. A climax, a moment of truth, when the lead character either succeeds or fails at prevailing over the problem. 5. A scene which calmly returns to the character's life. Could be a happy ending or tragic ending, depending on how you want to end your novel. This is called anticlimax. Here's an example of a novel titled Legends of the Fall by Jim Harrison. Introduction. It begins with a prologue, where an old Indian, Native American, named One Stab tells a story about the Ludlow family. He introduces the 3 boys in the family, Alfred, Tristan, and Samuel. They live in the wilderness on a ranch with their father, which happens to be a retired Army colonel. The brothers were close, and shows that they were not just brothers, but they were great friends as well. Among the 3, Tristan was the strongest character. He's the darling of everyone, because everyone in the family seemed to depend on his strength. The triggering event. The youngest brother, Samuel, went back home to the ranch after finishing his studies at a university, bringing home his fiancée, Susanna. They planned to get married until the World War I started in Europe. Samuel decided to go, and Alfred has his own military ambitions, and he went with Samuel. Their father was against it, but the 2 brothers can't be stopped. So their father asked Tristan to go with Alfred, and Samuel asked him to look after his brothers. Despite the father's disagreement and anger about them all going to war, all 3 end up going, but only 2 come back. The events. Samuel dies during the war. Alfred was injured, and he was sent back home. Tristan remains in the military until his discharge. He suffered from post-war traumatic stress. He is never the same. He became more aggressive. He had mood swings. But Samuel's fiancée, Susanna, saw a side of him beyond that. Alfred confesses his love to Susanna, but she loved Tristan. Then they get married. Alfred left, and he became a successful politician. Susanna and Tristan were never happy with their marriage. He became drawn into his depression and guilt about Samuel's death. Tristan left and became a wanderer. Susanna waited for him, but Tristan sends her a letter telling her not to wait for him and marry another. Alfred came home and comforts Susanna. He offered himself to marry her. 7 years later, he returned home. He brought back the prosperity of the ranch. Tristan fell in love with Isabel, a rancher's daughter. She used to be the little girl that adored him. They got married, and they have 2 children. Susanna and Alfred didn't have any children. The climax. Isabel was killed by accident by one of Tristan's business rivals. He became depressed and promised to exact revenge to get justice for his wife. He killed one of his wife's killers. Meanwhile, Susanna killed herself. Alfred came back to bury her body at the ranch. Tristan was hunted by the law, and Alfred came back to the ranch to aid him. Tristan said goodbye to Alfred and his father. He asked Alfred to watch over his kids. The anticlimax. Tristan is an old man. He still wanders from one place to another. He dies in the woods fighting a grizzly bear. It wasn't literal, of course. The grizzly bear represents his inner battle since the war.